Hey everyone, Aaron here, and welcome back to another anime talk. Today, we talk about sucking blood. No, we're actually gonna, well, we are talking about sucking blood. We're talking about vampires. Now, vampires in anime, that's the question of the day. Are they actually good? Is there actually anime series with vampires that actually aren't stupid? Now, many of you might be going, well, if you've never seen a lot of vampire anime, you might be going, that's impossible. In this day and age, vampires are handled so much more differently than it back in the old days of black and white films where vampires were scary, they were terrifying. They hypnotized you, they made you do things you didn't want to do, they would kill you, they would suck you dry of blood first, if not then kill you, or make you minions. That was the terrifying days of vampires. What we have now, though, is vampires that twinkle in the light. We have vampires that are too busy worried about their romances and their kind of, daily life of what we're gonna do with our friends. And by the way, if you know what series I'm talking about, because I'm talking about like four different series that I'm making fun of. I'm not gonna say them out loud because I don't want to offend anyone specifically if you watch those shows. But vampires in this day and age in this form of medium is just a joke. It really is. It's almost comical. But there's still hope and there's still redemption for vampires, especially in anime. I think where there are some times where vampires are still seen as kind of I want to say the teen girl romance concept. Being a guy myself, I've never fully understood this, but you girls in the comments below put down what would turns you on about vampires so much. A lot of the people I used to know in high school that used to be fans of vampires used to always say that vampires were really attractive, for some reason. Like the girls I used to know in my school, especially, would always say, "Oh yeah, I love this guy from this show, this particular anime, or this particular movie or franchise." That's, by the way, it's not hard to figure out what franchise I'm talking about. But it used to always baffle me because I'm like, what do they have that makes them so? Is it just a mysterious concept? Is it that they're cool, strong? If you're going off all those concepts, then technically the vampires from the old days should be appealing to them, right? But if you look at those vampires, they had like wrinkly skin, they were, gaunt, they were really dark and scary toned characters that you didn't want to be going out with them. There was no, nice looking vampires. In anime, I want to say it bleeds the realms of both worlds. We have like stuff like Shiki, for example, where Shiki is almost seen as a kind of I only say homage to the old days of anime, or not even anime, excuse me, the old days of vampire concepts, where you see the old vampires embedded in Shiki. Dance of the Vampire Bund, which is the picture I'm using right now as my the wallpaper for this anime talk, is more about the violent vampires, the ones that do want to exist with humans, and they want to kind of be there for humans at the same time, but they also need us to survive because, of course, what do vampires need for sustenance? Blood. You know, you have the cutesy. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of anime that ruins. Like, I'm not saying they're bad, by the way, but they ruin the concept of vampires. So let me put this in perspective. Like, for example, shows like Moonface. Moonface is a joke. If you watch Moonface, it's a great show. I love Moonface. I actually own the series for it. But it's a joke when you see the vampires and that act all cutesy and really only occasionally are very tough. You have stuff like Rosario Vampire where the vampires in that occasionally show some wickedness, but in the anime itself, not the manga, in the anime, it's actually more like they're jokes. Everything's a comedic act with these characters where, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to suck your blood. Did I suck you too much blood from you? I'm sorry. It's laughable, but that's why I have faith that I think vampires in anime can be done very well. I mean, this is only the cream of the crop because I really have not watched a lot of vampire anime in my lifetime, but I have seen a lot of them too at the same time. There's plenty of them. There's actually like hundreds of anime that actually have vampires in them. Even if they're not the main characters, they're still inside in a concept. Like Bakemonogatari has vampires in it. Um, Besides Rosario Vampire, you have stuff like Vampire Knight, which I never saw personally, but you also have Blood Sea, which has vampires. The main concept of it, even though you have also the Vampire Hunter concept. You have Vampire Hunter D. You have a plethora of anime to choose from for vampires. The problem is that which one do you want? Do you want the serious tone ones like Vampire Hunter D and or Dance of the Vampires Bond? Those to me are a mixture of both. I want to say Vampire Hunter D is kind of a more creepy, dark tone, but at the same time, it's action packed. It's kind of like action orientated, and even though the vampires are seen as enemies, they're not, the main focal point of the sense of the main character is not per se a pure vampire. He's a half breed. He's half human, half vampire. So you always have that, in the back burner of your mind, is this the full concept of what we could do with vampires? Even Shiki, even though it's a vampire anime by heart, it also deals with, lycans, which are werewolves essentially, and it deals with more of a kind of mystical element of vampires rather than just a flat out, oh, this is a vampire. It deals with the concept of ghoul vampire. You have Tokyo Ghoul, speaking of which, ghouls. That is a modern day spin on the old concept of vampires, where you have the old lineage of vampires, having to coexist in the world and darkness of everything. Like, they barely are able to maintain their, I guess, survival ability. But meanwhile, they are still very, like, super cool vampires that do weird, crazy stuff that doesn't make sense if you look at the old lore and the old concepts of vampires. So what am I trying to get at today? What's the point of today's anime talk? Vampires are, I think, very good in anime. I think they have a great place in anime, in the animal world in general, because they can be used in almost armada of forms of anime. You could put them in movies, you could put them as side characters, and they've been done before. Like Blood Plus and Blood C and all that. There's, I think, 5 or 6 movies for that series alone. Like I said, Vampire Hunter D is another one. But you have a lot of options. You really do. You have a lot of cool options that you can do with, I think, the vampire genre. And I think, in honest truth, and this is my opinion, this might not be reflective of you guys, of course, but vampires do better in anime, I think. They have a stronger foothold than the current concept of vampires nowadays, because I hate to say the West version of vampires is almost a joke. It really is. Like I said before, and I'm not going to repeat myself with this, but it's laughable in many ways. That's why I think, this is my opinion again, I think vampires can last a lot longer in the world of anime. If you guys agree or disagree, feel free to put in the comments. This is it for the anime talk today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Twitter, which is kind of like a barren wasteland for the most part because I just started up last week. But you feel free to check it out. Follow me on there. Check out my anime list, which also I did, which is, I think, currently 484 completed anime series I put on there. There's still plenty more I'm adding to it because I think I can get around to 500 something. But anyways, guys, until we talk again later, have a good one. Have a good weekend because it's Friday. And yeah, see ya. Bye.